Hi, how's it going there? Just gonna go over a couple quick notes. Um, Instability 101. I believe it's a mastermind scheme plan, the elitists, also known as, well, I guess they would be sponsoring what you'd call liberalism in Washington, kind of an attack on certain people's uh, when you say point of views. It's not uh, in a way or accomplishment in bringing people together or stabilizing America. It's actually the way of these guys to make it unstable here. And that's what we see in typical Washington politics today is things being very unstable. The instability of things caused has a lot to do with the economy. Am I gonna have to start over again? Am I gonna have to start over again on this thing? Do you know I'm doing a video? Did you know that? Do I have to start over with it? You guys are cool as can be until I push start on the start button, and then all of a sudden they start ripping up. Let's look at them. Let's watch. Let's watch these animals. Let's watch my animals for a second here. Everything was all cool. They were all just calm and everything until I pushed the button and that stupid bell rung. And now all of a sudden they're losing it. They lost their minds. Okay. So I guess I have to edit this video later. But anyways, here's my notes that I have. Instability 101. The strategy uh, was us to stay in Iraq. That was the most stable move that we could have made. We went into Iraq. We had good reasons for going into Iraq. Obviously, the United Nations couldn't deal with Iraq and Saddam Hussein. Something had to be done, so we had to take care of it. So it actually came down to that. And while there's a liberal in there, you're not going to see us go and invade any place that we have to go shake up or take care of or take some evil person out of. Especially if we put them in there and they're like, they use that too. How stupid is that? That's stupid. Like saying like Bush is the most ignorant person that they've ever heard of, but yet he came up with the most ingenious plan of the universe on for 9/11. You know, like it was him. Like he had something to do with it. I would like to introduce some of his critics and other people who think it was an inside job caused by the Republicans or something like that, and the Republicans are evil. I'd like to introduce you to the 9/11 Commission. Go pick that up and read it sometime. But anyway, so it was never to cut and run. So why they said there wasn't an exit strategy in Iraq is because we didn't have an exit strategy. It wasn't about to cut and run. It was about staying there and keeping peace and working there to allow the people to get to a point where they could allow us to leave. But we needed to bring stability there, and the people needed to be able to maintain stability in their own country in that region, and not and not replace this dictator with another more evil dictator. Now you see they got up to this point the most evil villains that you could find in the world are fighting to take Iraq. So I think that it's really very necessary. Um, this bipartisanship that they're talking about with Bernie Sanders in the VA bill to give them more benefits. Um, I say it sounds like they're just kicking the same dog down the road, beating the same trumps that they do, coming from the liberal point of view that our military isn't a military. They shouldn't be a fighting force. They should be doing some fairy tale land uh, duties or something like that, other than actually fighting wars and fighting against evil people. So it's the same kicking the dog down the road. Um, that they're talking about. They weren't ever going to propose a um, sound budget to pay for it. So it's a political maneuver for somebody, for this Bernie Sanders guy, to be able to use our military and that, and other people that have things to do with the VA facilities, with the VA chairman and whoever else is on board with this guy. How how did the VA get screwed up in the first place? Well, the first thing that you look at is they were they were veterans of an era of people that politicians in particular, um, type of same people that had a problem with America, not just the war, but had a real problem with America's veterans. So um, they basically were treating the last veterans before the Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. And I don't see how they don't believe that they're not going to be treated the same. Like, how is it that the government has taken benefits away from these guys, their retirement incentives, and other things that they were promised, the VA loans, school, housing, all of that. And then ultimately the retirement reduced down to what they normally should have got 100% of doing their duty and serving a full over 20 years to retire. They're going to get only 30% of what they were promised to get when they retire. And any other place that does that in public and private is um, basically they know that they're setting themselves up for a fight if they treat their employees like that. That's abuse on employees. So just because they were military, they can be abused like this and now used for Democrat, whatever they want. They're suggesting they're going to use the the funds. They say it's the most expensive bill that they brought up so far, or maybe it's one of the most. But I actually heard somewhere that they said it's the most money that they've asked for ever from the government so far on the for the veterans. So how did the VA get screwed up before? If this isn't an expansion of something that they already haven't been able to even get a handle on and fix, um, why aren't people being able to go to, say, more private doctors? If the VA doesn't offer their services, how come they can't be expanded to um, civilian? Because they're civilians now. It just, when I go to the VA and I see all the stuff, um, it reminds me of the military. It makes me think they're telling these people that they're all still in the military still, and that's cool if they want to be part of the military still like that, but they're still um, in civilian life now. So I think that they need to have more civilian doctors um, available for them. If there's some in particular, especially to move people's health along into the plus so that you can make people's health more stable and figure out diagnoses and be able to treat faster and not leave patients and people on the hook forever or for a really long time or they miss an appointment even. It's bad. Um, they need to give a lot of other considerations that they're just liberally trying to push this thing, and the thing that the Republicans are asking for, why they refuse to go along with it and are being attacked for this, is because they didn't actually get, they're calling it a bipartisan bill, but the Republicans actually didn't get what they're asking for. The Republicans are asking for all the way down the line, like I vote for Republicans all the way down the line. They're asking for every single thing that anybody does in government. They want it to be managed and budgeted. So you have a lot of things that they are not budgeting or even keeping track of. They're just here to force the law, to push for higher taxes, and to go to extremes of because they know that America is wealthy enough where they can handle it. So that's kind of the, I think it's a little moronic of liberals doing that, and here they are because they believe that the GOP really screwed veterans over. Instead of veterans going ahead and saying, okay, let's do it, let's see what happens. Oh, and Iran, they want to include Iran too, so let's leave Iran in check too. So let's go ahead and see what happens if you don't actually get to the point where it will actually bankrupt. Because you've seen Greece bankrupted, the government and everybody went ahead and bailed the CEOs and all the top people out anyways. That's what you've seen right there. They didn't they didn't take it in the shorts like everybody thought they were going to, maybe because they had the opportunity to man up on it, but they didn't. Their government stuck up for the elitists over there, and that's exactly what you're going to see here, the same exact European model for what they're trying to do here. And it's no different. Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, we want to hear all these guys. We want to talk, we want to hear what they have to say bad about Obama in particular and what he's done bad in the past 8 years from all of them. We want to hear what Bernie Sanders, even Hillary Clinton herself, even though she's part of it and she's pretty much a lot like you probably hear a lot of compliments, more compliments on Obama than, you know, going against the grain and the status quo that his moronic leadership has basically summoned for us here. This moronic mentality. Just another expense. Yeah, so there's no budget. There's no budget in it. They said the funds were supposed to come from the Iraq war and the Afghan funds for the Afghanistan war. And we already know that they want to defund the war. They want to totally close down the war effort. So I guess I see the point what the GOP was also saying there. Not only is it not budgeted, but they're talking about using money where they're just going to end up stripping money from the government, making the government pay for it, and they don't know where the money's coming from. They have no idea to be able to know exactly where they're going to get the money for all that. And it's an extension of what you already see. Instead of fixing VA, let's hear a little bit more language from the veterans if the VA got any better now that they were exposed heavily. Okay, so the GOP wants to continue sanctions on Iran. You know, anybody who says death to America or like they're going to destroy us, I think you really guys missed the point with this Obama guy, and you needed to really get Mitt Romney or somebody else. But you got a good opportunity with Donald Trump, I would think, as long as whoever him or whatever GOP candidate starts touching ground more with the common people and be able to have everybody sense like he kind of understands all of us. That makes for the better candidate, the guy who you're gonna sit down and have a beer with, sort of, is what they try to say that. Um, so it's a dupe, it's a political ploy, and they're trying, and the guy Sanders is trying to use the service in the military, saying, "Oh, look what I did for them," whenever it's actually would have been a catastrophe. And that's not what people sent Republicans to go and do in there. And they didn't necessarily say they didn't want to help veterans or they weren't supporting veterans. They just want to know that it's going to be paid for, how you're funding it, and there's a lot of ridiculousness that's going on there in government that needs to be cleaned up. A lot of liberal spoilage that, regardless of what they want to say, somebody conservative now is going to have to man that position, all these other positions, the best that we can to help actually put make more sense in light of things and not take advantage of the situations, because I think that's what you just did with the healthcare and all that, and you're asking with people like socialists or whatever else to come and use the government to abuse more people's rights, to abuse more people from the government, be more pushy and regulate and regulate. It's nonsense. It's a dupe. So it was a lot of money that they were talking about. Same stuff, different day. Um, and they're gonna be on top of it. What I'm saying here is they're gonna go. What I just said about them, they're gonna come out there and they're gonna say, oh, we gotta make sure this doesn't happen again. We gotta make sure that the former pre-abuses by by people in government, they don't get away with it again, and then we stop this stuff from happening, and then we make sure it doesn't ever happen again. That's what you're gonna hear from Bernie Sanders, and how he's gonna fix it with the government. Same stuff, different day. Sounds a lot like Obama, maybe a little bit different direction than Obama in particular. Oh, yep. So it's time for everybody to unload on Obama time. Unload on what you have a problem with. You want to see something, you want to see it fixed. Time for correctness. Not political correctness, but just to explain however people explain in their own words what they want to see accomplished in government. Now it's time to speak up radically, drastically, high pitched about your problems of what you've seen the last 8 years. Up to that point, until we vote again, Obama is open season for Obama to explain the disdain, disgust, and how moronic people like that, you understand fully and completely that he hates America, and you don't want to see any more people that hate America like this in office. But we do want to pay attention to everybody, what they have to say about the guy too. And sometimes it's bull stuff, but we'll hear people compliment him. We'll be like, I don't think so. I don't think abuse from government going for, instead of, actually really sticking up for the small guy, he went and did morbid damage to America, pretty much saying like, there's no such thing as immorality. It's time to be ethical, you know. Oh, it's unethical to be moral, to be a moral guy. Liberals keep. So the Democrats keep taking the veterans' benefits away from them, keep taking away from veterans, keep taking away from the military. And then you have this guy, Bernie Sanders, come up here and say, hey, I tried to make this bill and tried to make them come up with these services and this stuff for veterans. It's not money that doesn't go to veterans, you know. You're not paying veterans more money, are you? What about their retirements? What about their incomes and stuff like that? Just personal finances, stuff that really matters, you know? How come these people can't pay for their own medical treatments? Or at least a sanctuary, like a house of their own, something. Well, it sounds like if you need to go that far and extensive with it, you really need to consider restoring everything that was promised to them originally in the first place, and then have the Republicans tell you how they're going to pay for it, how we're all going to pay for it. That way, then you can have it actually be bipartisan and then pass the thing. But until then, they're just using the military and they think they're smart by doing this, but it's more abuse and more push to get money thrown out there. But is it really going to solve a problem, or is it going to be an extension to an already unsolved major mess in the VA system? So I don't believe that liberals came to put a budget on it to fix things. Actually, they come to force and cram and jam and tell you how it was and tell you they want their cake now. They want this done now. They don't have time for this Republican garbage. Budget. Like, what is that? It's a Republican thing. It's just money. It's money. Throw it. Just throw the money. Just throw it. Just throw the money. Party. Party hardy. Party. Money party. Party money. Money party. So restore the veterans' benefits. Restore everything that you said they were supposed to get. Quit taking away from them. And don't buy that. Now, obviously, they're doing stuff that's gonna obviously not only use the veterans, but its common core is to confuse the living snot right out of everybody, so that they have to go in extensively, which is good. It's actually good. It's healthy for my brain. It's brain training. It's you know, brain exercising or whatever. I needed to get my brain up and started and out. Maybe I didn't stretch my brain enough before I started. You have to stretch your brain before and after these workouts. So, anyways, can it be solved with civilian doctors? We want to truly know what's going to be cost effective, how we can pay for it, how if there's money already out there floating around, insurances and other things, how it can be paid for, and how we can utilize civilian doctors and make veterans more comfortable. That's what we really want. We don't want them to feel like necessarily they're still in the army now. We want them to feel comfortable, be able to get on with their civilian life, and to not worry, less worry, more money in their finances. I say pay these people more money, whatever. So I think most people definitely are comfortable whenever they go to a couple different doctor practices, and they go from doctor to doctor until they finally find one they can talk with and they're comfortable with, unless the relationship gets severed somehow. That's what people are basically looking for, is for somebody they can trust, also not forced. You see more force from the government, more force to do this or that, and that's just kind of absurd. They've already sacrificed enough to where they were promised something originally. So that's just food for thought. Thanks.